we are, another day, another dollar. Part 9, Abjecti sunt. People are cast out. Autem, however or moreover, from their sacrament, when they join the army, they swear an oath, so they're cast out from the army, it looks like. Alai quattro, another 4, ob, because of similar flagitium. It's a neuter with the e there. Because of a similar disgrace, 4 others were ejected from their oath. Vexillatium, this is a part of the cavalry, and here we have four tribuni. So 4 tribunes, because of similar disgraces, were kicked out, bitted out. Hoc enim, for this, what have we got? The moderation of this way of correction, to be more lenient, by the consideration of the impendium difficatium. Out of consideration for the difficulty that's hanging over them or about to happen, the emperor was content with this moderate form of correction, just kicking them out. He didn't kill them or anything. 10. Progressi. We progressed, they progressed, idique, and so accordingly. Septuaginta stadia. This is a unit of measurement. So 70 stadia we progressed. This looks like a typo. Attenuata rerum omnium copia. So the copia, the amount they had of everything, was attenuated, was thinned out of all their things that they had, with herbis, which is grass, frumentus, the grain, cremated. So it looks like all the things that they and horses would eat has been burnt, and ex flammis himself, from the flames themselves. Yes, quisque, each one, whatever frug, so it's fruit, and pabula, other things for nourishment, they could raptas, they grabbed, which each one was potuit vihere, which was able to carry away and conserve it. So they grabbed things from the flames, and this is how they saved them or conserved them, and they were able to carry them. 11. Hoc etiam loco relicto. So this place even they left. Cum ad tractum, and when they came to a tractum appellatum, a region called Maranga, all the omnis exercitus advented, when all the army had come to this place, so left this place, went to another place, tract of land called Maranga. Prope the Confinia Lucas, near the boundary of light, so I guess the sun was cracking the landscape in the horizon. An immense multitude of Persarums, of Persians, apparawitted, they appeared, with marine magistro, so their leader was Marina of the cavalry, militae, that's the soldiers, it's the cavalry soldiers, there's a qui, and Filius Duobus of the regus, and 2 sons of the king, and some optimatibus plurimus, and very many optimates or leading citizens. 12. Erant autem. They were, however, or moreover, omnes caterva, all this band of men were ferrati, ironclad. So ita thus, through a single membra, which would be a limb, they were tectae, covered up with dense laminations of iron. So that the young turas, where the joinings, with the compags, this is like the structure where you see the ribs of a ship or a skeleton works or whatever. Regentes means it was stiff, so it looks like where they convenient, so where they gathered artum over these joints, so basically in English something like where all the metal joined, it was tightly fitted over the structures to each body, something like this, and simulacra with images of human vultums, of human faces, were ita, again, thus apta diligently, apta here taking the dative, is it? Captibus. So that with solid imbracatus corporibus. So this again is wearing, I think bracteus can even mean trousers or something. But basically they were all solidly covered with all these iron laminations, so that tantum merely or only the falling tellers or spears or arrows or whatever they were. Possunt, they were able to adhere or stick, qua, in which places through cavernous minutus, so through minute cavities in the joinings of these places, where the joining was up there, and the orbibus ocularum, and the circular bits of your eyes, the eye holes. It seemed is where these arrows could affix themselves and stick in. So you can only get them through the joinings and through where their eyes, it seemed, rather parcious, rather sparingly, or vel, or through the supremitates narium, or through the extremities of the nose. There's augusto, which means narrow, where they emitted their spiritus, or their breath. So they breathe through their nose. 13. Quorum pars, of which part, pars is female, with contis, these are poles, they would stand, this part is singular, they would stand immobile. So a part of them about to fight, Dimicatura, that's the female version of a future from parts. This part would stand there with poles about to fight. So that existimares, you'd think, they were fixed damned in place with reticulus aeris. So reticula is usually a rope or something, but it could be a chains because aeris is bronze. So you think they had like bronze chains holding them immobile. And juxta, adverb next to them were the Sagittariuses of the horoscope. These are bowmen, of whose fiducia of the art, their trust in the art of this gens prevailed maxima. So greatly they relied on this from the incunabundant. This is from the cradle. First, from the beginning of their race, they relied strongly on bowmanship, or whatever you'd call it. Tendabant, they would stretch or something. Their arcuses, which is fourth declension, their bows. The divericus brachius. So that looks like their arms are like stretched in different directions, and there's flexoles showing that the arms would flex, or the bow would flex, so that their nerves, this is looks like the bowstrings to the mammoths, to the nipples, would pray stringerat, they'd stretch out or graze that to their right dexterus. So the bowstring, when they stretched it, would reach their right breast, and the spicula, it's the pointed bit, would cohere it, we saw here earlier for sticking, to the sinistris manibus, to their left hands. So the point would be at their left hand, and to the right breast would be the string of these huge bows. And with summa perita, with utmost experience, digitorum of the fingers, argutum, that means they're skilled, with pulsibus, that's just below, sonanting, so there's a sound when they release the arrows. The horundines, that's the shaft of the bow, would evolve a band, would fly out with the skill. Portentes, present participling, carrying the vulnera pernicosa, the destructive wound. Okay, how far are we going today? Down to there. 14. Posthos, behind these, elephantorum of the elephants, fulgentium, what have we got? An accusative. Formidandum specium, the dreadful or to be feared appearance of shining elephants, fulgentium or glistening, and the truculentus hiatus, and the fierce or grim gaping opening, probably of the mouth. Scarcely pavidae mentes, scarcely scared minds could tolerate this, prefer about them. 2 quorum, split with a genitive there, takes the accusative. Add to the stritorem, or to the din of these, or to the noise, and there's a qui, and the odour, which is the smell, and the insuitum aspectum, and the unaccustomed look of them. These are banter, they were terrified, the equines were terrified. So the horses were terrified, magus, more than the pavidae humans. So I might as well have a daily dictionary word here from the Vexilla, which we saw, not to be confused with the standard troops or cavalry. So they were cavalry today. Back to the plot. 15. Quibus, with which or in which or something, magistri insidings. So this would be the elephants, the quibus. So the magistri, the people in charge, were sitting on these elephants, gestabanting, carrying with them manubritas coltros, these are knives. Manubris might have something to do with the handle. which were in legatos, which means they were tied to the manibus dexterus. So they had these knives ligated, or whatever you call it, to their right hands. Memo was mindful of what they had accepted. Apud Nisabin, this is probably a place, Cladus. So mindful of having accepted or received a disaster at this place, Nisabin. And if the ferociens animal, and if the ferocious animal exuperated, there's usually an S in there, this is an alternate spelling. Exupere means to overcome the vires, the strength of the person regenting it, ruling it, or driving it. And nay, lest it reversed through their own people, as then had happened, con lysam means colliding with them, and it had sternerated the plebs, it had ploughed into them and knocked them all flat. The vertebra, which is part of the spine, which terminates or is in between the caput and the neck, and the curvus. So the vertebra between the head and the neck, with the nictu, with a stroke, terrabora, they bore a hole in it with a maximo ictu, with a great blow they bore through this vertebra, chopping its head off or killing it. Exploratum est, something had been explored, for aliquando at some time or other, by Hasdrubal, the fratre of Hannibal. So by Hasdrubal, the brother of Hannibal, some time ago had been explored, that ita, in this way, Sitius, rather quickly, the vitam, the life, what have we got, of this beast, the elephant, the bellua, huis modo, in this type of way could be a demo. They could drive out the life or take away the life of these animals, with which non sine magno terror, not without a great terror, perspectus quibus, this was seen not without great terror. Stipatos, groups of people who packed around globe. So a globe of people packed around of armed cohorts, with the primitibus, with the leading men or generals. Fidentimus, very confident, was the imperator, the general, the emperor. So that major vis in Natrochia, so that a more and more atrocious force, would be a disgrace. So if there was so he wouldn't have a disgrace, I'm guessing. If it demanded more, actually. The Acis Lunare, so he drew up his battle lines in the shape of the moon, which is a crescent moon, not a full moon, and with curves, sinuatos, like bays and curves, latribus on the flanks. He drew them up so that they could fight the manipulars, the troops hostile of the enemy Occursus, when they are about to clash into them. And they'll leave for the day.